It's wild, right? All this cybersecurity stuff happening, and most people only hear about it when it blows up into some huge thing.
Yeah, it's a constant deluge.
But the thing is, when you actually look at the headlines, it's like, whoa, this stuff is scary. And it's happening right now.
They're like trying to hold on to water, you know?
Yeah.
Everything's always changing. The threats never stay the same.
Exactly. It can feel overwhelming. And then a story pops up that just makes you realize how vulnerable we really are. Like this whole choice DNA thing, I'll be honest, I'd never even heard of them before. But they work with facial DNA, and their data got leaked. That's not your typical data breach, right?
No, not at all. I mean, we're used to hearing about credit card numbers getting stolen, passwords, that kind of thing. But this is different. This is biometric data, practically the blueprint of your physical identity.
Yeah.
It's not just about someone stealing your ID now. It's what they could do with that info years down the line.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface of how this data can be used.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's so unsettling.
Yeah, it's like, what happens when technology gets even more advanced? Someone's going to figure out a way to use this stuff that we haven't even thought of yet.
That's the million-dollar question. And there's no easy answer, unfortunately. We're in uncharted territory.
Uncharted territory is right. It really makes you think twice about who you trust with your information. And it's not just those niche companies either. We're talking about places like Patelco Credit Union. I mean, people trust them with their money, their life savings. And they got hit with a ransomware attack. Over 1 million people affected. 1 million.
And it's not just a technical glitch, you know.
Yeah.
A ransomware attack on that scale, it's life-altering. Identity stolen, people's finances ruined. We're talking about years of trying to rebuild credit. The fallout can be absolutely devastating.
It's easy to forget that there are real people behind these attacks. And it's not just banks and financial institutions either. Healthcare systems are becoming prime targets. This breach at the community clinic of Maui, their entire system was down for weeks after that ransomware attack.
It's scary because healthcare systems, they hold so much sensitive information. Medical records, financial info, even biometric data in some cases. And when these systems go down, it's not just an inconvenience, it can actually be life or death for patients.
Wow. So we've got facial DNA out there, credit unions getting attacked, hospitals struggling to stay online. It paints a pretty bleak picture.
It's definitely a trend. We tend to think of these organizations as separate, but they're all connected, part of the same digital world. And what connects them, unfortunately, is that they're all vulnerable.
You know, it really makes you stop and think, what information do I have out there? And how safe is it, really? I know I'm rethinking a few things after going through all this.
That's a good thing. It's not about living in fear. It's about being aware and taking steps to protect yourself.
And it's not just our own data that's at risk. Look at what happened with Agence France-Presse, the AFP global news organization, right?
It's huge.
And they got hit with a cyber attack that actually disrupted their news services. It's like someone trying to control information itself.
Exactly. These attacks aren't just about stealing data. They can be used to cause chaos, disrupt important stuff. We always hear about the financial impact, but imagine if they disrupt essential services, like the news. That's a whole other level of scary.
Speaking of disruptions, this whole thing with WMDDH, the accounting firm, really got to me. Data breach last summer, and they're just disclosing it now. It just seems so irresponsible.
Yeah, this delayed disclosure thing is a real problem. Companies might wait for all sorts of reasons. Maybe they're afraid of lawsuits or bad press. Maybe they're hoping it just goes away.
Right. Sweep it under the rug.
But it's not fair to individuals and businesses. They need to know so they can protect themselves.
It's like you find out your house has faulty wiring months after the fact. You've been living with this risk and you didn't even know.
Exactly. Transparency is key. When organizations wait to say something, it makes the damage even worse.
It's frustrating because you'd think these big companies would be on top of this stuff. But then you read about U.S. state CISOs struggling to get enough money for cybersecurity. Makes you wonder if anyone's really prepared.
It's easy to think cybersecurity is just about money, but it's more complicated than that. Resources are important, but you need a solid strategy too.
Yeah.
You need people in charge who understand the risks, and they need the power to do something about it. Unfortunately, a lot of CISOs are stuck playing catch-up, even at the state level.
It's like we're talking about two different worlds. On the one hand, you've got these cyber criminals, super sophisticated, bolder than ever. And on the other hand, there are these organizations barely keeping up. Sometimes they don't even seem to get it.
It's a real imbalance. The attackers, they just need to be right once. The defenders, they have to be right every single time.
Talk about an uphill battle. And this next story is a perfect example of how much trickier this is all getting. This deep fake attack on Senator Cardin. Sounds like something straight out of a movie, but it actually happened.
Deepfakes are a whole different beast. It's not just about data or hacking anymore. It's about messing with our sense of reality, like super-powered social engineering.
And people trust what they see, right? We're used to videos and audio being like, proof. But with deepfakes, that trust is gone. What can you believe?
Exactly. Deepfakes make it harder to tell what's real and what's fake. And they're only getting better, easier to make. Which means we're going to see them used in more and more ways.
It's scary. If someone can make a fake video of a senator that's believable, what else can they do? Fake news reports, mess with evidence, maybe even manipulate the stock market.
All real possibilities. Deepfakes could really erode trust, not just in people, but in institutions, systems.
It's like we're moving into a world where seeing isn't believing, and the tech is moving so fast, what seems impossible today could be normal tomorrow.
It's unsettling. It's a race against technology, and we have to be ready to adapt. We need to be cautious, informed, skeptical even, in a way we never had to before.
And it's not just high-tech stuff. The story about the guy selling counterfeit network switch licenses seems small time, but when you really think about it,
Oh, the implications are huge. I mean, yeah, at first glance, it's like, okay, someone's selling fake licenses. But those things could end up in critical infrastructure, hospitals, power grids. Those systems need to be reliable. Putting in counterfeit parts is introducing vulnerabilities on purpose.
so it's like building a house on a foundation of sand.
Exactly.
It's kind of terrifying when you think about it. Something as small as a fake license could take down a whole power grid. You don't always think about cybersecurity being about that. It's not just protecting data. It's like making sure the systems we depend on actually work.
It is, and it shows how tricky cybersecurity can be. We tend to focus on the big, scary attacks, the stuff that makes headlines. But a lot of the time, it's the little things, the things you wouldn't even think about, that can really cause chaos.
Yeah, I get it. We've talked about so much. Facial DNA, ransomware, deepfakes, fake hardware. It's a lot. Makes you want to check your phone in the ocean and hide in a cave, right?
I get it, I do. But let's be real, most of us can't just disappear off the grid. We live in a digital world, whether we like it or not, and that comes with some risks. But it doesn't mean we're helpless. We just need to shift our mindset a bit.
Mhm.
It's not about being scared. It's about being prepared.
Okay, so how do we do that? We've talked about all these risks. How do we even start to deal with them?
It's simpler than you might think. Cybersecurity, a lot of it is about how we behave online. If we're aware of the risks and take some basic steps, we can avoid a lot of trouble.
All right, so what are the basics? Give us the rundown.
First things first, good passwords. Can't stress that enough. And whenever you can, use that two-factor authentication. It's an extra layer of protection, makes it way harder for the bad guys to get in.
Like a deadbolt for your online accounts.
Yeah, exactly. Another big one is phishing. Don't just click links without thinking, especially in emails. If something feels off, even a little, it probably is.
So double check everything, even if it looks official.
Exactly. And don't forget to keep your software updated. Those updates, they usually have security patches that fix weaknesses attackers could use. It's like having a security system, but forgetting to turn it on.
Oh man, I'm totally guilty of that, ignoring those update reminders.
We all do it.
Yeah.
But it's those little things that can come back to bite you. Oh, and one last thing. Be careful what you share online. The more info you put out there, the more there is for someone to potentially take advantage of.
Okay, so strong passwords, double check links, update everything, and think before you share. Not too complicated when you put it that way.
See? Not so scary. Good habits, that's the key.
This deep dive has been eye-opening. We've covered so much: data breaches, ransomware, deepfakes, even fake hardware. It really shows you just how complex this digital world is. But if there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this, it's that knowledge is power. The more we know about these threats, the better we can protect ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. Cybersecurity isn't just on the government or the big companies, it's on all of us. Everyone has a part to play in making the digital world safer.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, we'll leave you with this. Think about what you learned today. How can you use it? What small changes can you make to be safer online? And how can we, as a society, work together to build a more secure digital future? Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep on diving deep.